here's another interesting story, and again, this is something we've touched on before. There's supposedly a new breakthrough about to come through on the understanding of the genetic code of unborn babies, and they'll be able to determine, for example, one of the things they'll say early in the pregnancy, you'll be able to determine whether it's going to be male or female. So I guess you can make that decision, earlier in the pregnancy. But we talked some time ago about how medical science now says they're going to be able to diagnose unborn babies with Down syndrome much earlier than they have in the past, and that the big advantage of this is that you'll be able to decide whether you want to terminate or not.
They don't tell you that right up front. They just say, we'll be able to make determinations early on.
Right.
And then leaving it hanging.
And already, well over 90% of all unborn babies diagnosed with Down syndrome are murdered in the womb. Mm-hmm. Now they're saying that this can be expanded, and there'll be 3,500 genetic faults that people will be able to identify in unborn children early in the pregnancy.
Right.
And they're saying one of the big advantages of this is people will be able to determine what they want to do about it earlier in the pregnancy.
Yeah. And how many are false positives where they say the child has Down syndrome and they abort and they didn't have Down syndrome?
Well, but that's beside the point, because the Down syndrome baby shouldn't be aborted, even a baby who is misdiagnosed with Down syndrome. But the point I'm going to make about this, and we made it before on this Down syndrome deal, and it comes back up here. This is further evidence of the moral decay that abortion has wrought upon the medical community. Mm-hmm. It has destroyed any semblance of morality in American medicine. Mm-hmm. Because if you're sitting here saying we can detect these things earlier on, in years past, the argument would have been, and that will allow us to prepare the parents or to do something about it. Maybe we can make some corrective action to help this baby. Mm-hmm. They don't even think that way anymore. This is going to allow us to kill these babies earlier in the pregnancy.
Well, they left the Hippocratic Oath to start with. Then it went.
Well, that's because they leave the sentence hanging. Again, we'll be able to detect some sort of genetic defect, and then we can decide what to do, and have the abortion.
Right.
Most people, I think most good-hearted people, would think that they can, detect some congenital heart disorder, and therefore go in utero, like's been done in the past, and maybe sew up a valve or do some sort of corrective surgery, place the baby back in the womb, and then a normal delivery a few months later. But that's not what they're saying in these instances. Because of the so-called wrongful birth lawsuits, a baby is born with one arm or has got Down syndrome, or is dwarf, or a cleft palate or something like that, and the doctor did not detect it and did not recommend an abortion. Therefore, the doctor is liable for all the medical care for this baby forever, till the baby dies.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. If you start removing morality from something as personal to individual human beings as medicine, you're in deep trouble. Mm-hmm. If morality is an irrelevant issue here, which is what they're saying.
Well, our founding fathers said that the Constitution was created for a moral people.
Right.
And with the absence of morality, the whole card house falls down on itself. And I think that's what we're seeing in America.
What we're seeing.
Too much liberty and individual freedom with absence of a moral code, i.e. the Ten Commandments, it collapses.
Right.